once again tuning in. I'm so excited to just make another video for you guys. I have been going through a lot of different changes and I'm so sorry for not posting a video any sooner. From now on, I really believe that I can be able to deliver you guys videos weekly, if not even before that. So, I'm so excited to just be in camera and be talking to you and just giving you a beautiful message of hope and survival, and just to let you know that you can get out of whatever situation that you are. All you have to do is really want it and really will it. And what I really wanted to talk about today is I really wanted to just rewind. I really wanted to rewind on my life, and I really wanted to let you know a little bit more about who I am and about the train wreck that I was, because I really was into a point that I was pretty much a train wreck. I mean, I was like, a lot of people know I was like constantly partying, doing drugs, having stupid, meaningless, casual sex with people, thinking that it's cool. And you know what? Talking about that is the power of society and conditional thinking. Because as women, we don't necessarily want to just give ourselves away just like that. And then, of course, I'm not talking about every woman. Some women are very okay with that, and I have all the respect for you. But I know that within me, I'm not okay with that. And I had to, it's almost like I conditioned myself as I became more cynical, as I became more pessimistic about my life. I conditioned myself into doing things that I normally would never do, and to doing them. And having drunk, casual sex was definitely one of those things. And I just want to let you guys know that I know a lot of our problems come from childhood. Actually, if not all of our problems come from childhood. But just remember that you chose this life. You chose this life that you're living. You're creating this life that you're living. And then you say to yourself, well, how the hell do I choose this shitty ass childhood that I had? You choose this shitty ass childhood that you had because you were meant to survive it. And you were meant to overcome it because you are meant to deliver a message. Everybody has a story. What is your story? That's what you have to ask yourself. What is your story? My story is filled with a lot of different kinds of survival. My story is filled with a lot of sadness and a lot of neglect. I was one of those kids that I was so incredibly neglected growing up. From my peers to my caretakers to my mother, and the very few people that did care, which was my grandmothers, I didn't care about them because they were old and I was a brat. And then I had to live with the fact that the people that loved me genuinely, which was my grandmother, she passed away and I didn't even get to say goodbye to her. In a time where I was evolving and I was really starting to appreciate the love that she gave me as a kid, and then she passes away on me. So let's add more insult to injury, And what I'm trying to say is that you can get out of it. I come from a childhood where my father was incredibly abusive. My father caused so much trauma to my mother that I grew up with the burden of knowing that her abuse happened because I was born. That's right. I grew up with that burden. I grew up feeling like everything was my fault because everything was being told that it was my fault because this person was so traumatized and couldn't let it go. And then you say to yourself, well, that's terrible, and how could a mother do this? And how could a mother, treat her kid like that? Well, it happens. And it's abuse and it's traumatic and it happens. You see, I forgave my mother a long time ago. But before I forgave my mother, I had to forgive myself for all the other fuck-ups that I had for myself, for all the drunken nights that I had, for all the car crashes that I had, which were like over 10. And I'm talking about total losses as well. For all the meaningless sex and for letting people take advantage of me and use me and abuse me, for being raped, and for overdosing. I have to forgive myself for a lot of different fuck-ups that I had. And once I was able to start to do that, you see, change starts with forgiveness. You will never be able to change. You will never be able to get that job that you want, get that relationship that you want, that ideal relationship that you would love, those butterflies, or that job where you feel important and feel like somebody, until you get to the point where you really realize that all your fuck-ups happened because you were just trying to fill a void. Because everything happens when you're trying to fill a void, you see. And childhood is a huge part of it. Forgiving yourself for what happened to you all those other years. Understanding that your parents, they're people. In the end, they're people, and they're not perfect. And they had their own childhood issues, and they had everything else against them that unfortunately led them to make wrong decisions as well. And then you say to yourself, well, you know, why are people having all these kids? Why are people getting married? Why are people getting divorced all the time? And why are people getting, all kinds of ridiculous relationships that are toxic? That is all part of a really long chain of karma and of self-hate or lack of self-love. That is all a big chain. And you are here in this same situation because the universe wants you to break that. You see, your life is not meaningless. You are here to make a difference. And by making a difference in yourself, it causes a ripple effect and making a difference in other people. My awakening didn't happen because I overdosed. You see, even though that was a huge part of my awakening, because it really gave me a really interesting sense of power. Because for once, I chose to live. For once, I chose to live in a moment where I didn't want to live anymore. But I was given a choice. As I was going through my near-death experience, I was given a choice. You know, you can stay or you can go. And I was in such a low point in my life, even though I didn't really overdose on purpose. I did. Because when you're in such a low point in your life, the universe, where you don't want when you feel like your life is not worthy of being here, you are creating that. And the universe is going to create that for you. So yes, I did create that situation for myself. But when you actually face that situation, you realize how precious your life is. And you realize that you can make a difference in the world. Everybody has a story. Remember that. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my God, this is death. This is really death. And if I let go, I'm done. And then I asked myself, or my higher self asked me, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And that's when my family flashed before my eyes. And at that time, I wasn't even thinking about my family. I wasn't even talking to them. I was in bad terms with them. I could give a shit. the state that I was, I could give a shit. All I cared for was having fun, because that was the only thing that made me feel alive in this world. And my drug of choice was alcohol. I didn't overdose on alcohol. I overdosed on ecstasy and alcohol. And I did a bunch of other drugs too, but my drug of choice was alcohol. And regardless, getting into all those other car accidents that I got into, it wasn't enough for me. I had to really see death in my face for me to really understand that there's something bigger. Because I was atheist, by the way, and that was during the age of 23. I had to really see that there was something bigger than myself. And you know what? Even then, I still continued. I just became smarter. I wanted to cheat the system. But not because I didn't want to be somebody in life, because I always wanted to be somebody in life. Even though I felt like an outcast, even though I never felt like I belonged in school, I was never part of a group, and even when I became part of a group, I still didn't feel like I was part of it because I just couldn't really, I didn't feel like I was any of those regular girls. I don't know. I really, you know, a lot of people that are watching this, they will resonate with this. And I feel like even people that are part of a group, they may not even feel like they belong in that group. So you must even think twice in where you belong. But even then, it didn't really dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me, and I continue to be myself, my crazy ass self, just a little bit less. Just a little bit less. But guess what happened? It really awoke my awareness into other people's pain, which is something that I had always felt all my life. I felt other people's emotions. Even as a child, I couldn't understand why people were so mean to one another sometimes. And even my father, you know, him having his own condition of rage and, you know, his episodes or whatever. I couldn't really understand why people were mean to one another. And after my overdose, it really awoke me into that side of the world and of myself. But it still didn't even go much. Because now, I went from doing ecstasy to drinking a lot because I wanted to continue to live a normal life, and I just wanted to continue drinking, and I wanted to have fun because I didn't want to see other people's pain. I was a bartender. I was, you know, working at a nightclub, and it was supposed to be about having fun. And when I got out of work, I wanted to continue to relax or have a good time. And here I am seeing everybody else's problem, and I have my own problems, and I hate myself. Shit. And only when I got raped for being so drunk, that's when I took a good look at myself, and I was like, you're better than this. You're better than this. And the thing is that for a while I didn't remember my rape. For a while I didn't remember, for a short while, I didn't remember what had happened. And then God let me remember. He let me remember everything. He let me remember how everything went down. And I was normally a blackout drinker, but this time, he wanted me to remember. So that's when I started to take a good look at myself. And that's when I started to realize that it doesn't matter how much fun I was having, I wasn't happy. And that's when I became curious. And that's when life started to shift. It was very small shifts. But then I realized that I wanted to learn what it was to be happy all the time. I had a willingness to learn what it took to be happy all the time. And that's when I made my change. And that's when I took a stance to make my change. Because it didn't happen overnight. This that you see right here, this openness that you see right here, it happened in about 5 years. And it's still going. It happened in about 5 years and it's still going. So, I mean, guys, all I want you to know is that you can change. You can be better. Okay? I don't care what you've gone through. There's people that have gone through worse things than I have. But in the end, trauma is trauma. Somebody's pain is no bigger than other people's pain. Please, just because I'm telling you my story doesn't mean that my story is any less than your story. The things that I've experienced, the loss that I experienced, the embarrassment, oh my God, the emptiness, the sadness, the cries, the emptiness. It's no different than other people's pain, and it's no stronger than other people's emptiness. We've all hit rock bottom, and some of us have hit rock bottom several times. But I just want to let you know that there is a way out. There is a light. And it all starts with the willingness to change, and it all starts with the willingness to be vulnerable and the willingness to forgive ourselves. We've all been there. I know I've been there. We can all change. You are here for a much better purpose. Find out. Be curious. Love yourself and be yourself. I love you all. Bye.